Okay, everyone, welcome back to the midweek market wrap up for the 5th of January 2021. And what a day to do this. So, again, if you guys are new here, I do some short videos of some stocks that I'm interested in. I do a live stream on Sunday at 2 Eastern. Please come stop by. And then we do this midweek video. Just kind of wrapping up my thoughts on the market and what's going on. And as I mentioned, this is a definitely a good day to do it. So let's just actually pop right into that right here. And actually, let's start with crypto just to leave you guys hanging. We did have a little bit of a breakdown here on Bitcoin, right? At Stats Edge Pro, which you're interested in that or any of the softwares you see me use today. Link is in the description below. That will take you to some affiliate links of the software. And then also you can check out the website, which has a fully free 39 lesson trading course. And then if you're interested in more, we have Stats Edge Pro, where what you see right here, I dissolve into a blog post and share that every single night for less than $2 a day. And I've been talking about this level on Bitcoin for a while, right? It's fairly straightforward. 45,000 ish, you can call it. You can see we bounced off that when we sold off initially, had a little bounce, and then we've been spending a few days here. That broke down today. So now the next level we need to watch is this 41,000 roughly. And that's kind of where we sold off here and then where we bounced in through here. So really not too much to say here. However, if this candle closes right here, we will be starting a little bit of an RSI divergence, which can show a potential short-term bottom. So if that RSI divergence resolves and we're showing some support around this area, that's something that I think needs to be noted for maybe a potential bounce off this. Who knows there? The other cryptos I want to look at was Ethereum, ETH, USD. You can see this is kind of a declining wedge that's happening here. So I'm watching the low end of this range just to see if we get a bounce from there. If not, I say, the support needs to hold. If we don't hold, it'll definitely be time to turn tail and run on this one. And I want to note the relative strength. And so that's the relative strength in Ethereum as opposed to looking at the other ones going through. Some of these are selling off pretty dramatically. This NGen coin I've actually been watching. I was long some in through here, and then I took a little bit of profit up here, and now I'm stopped out the rest break even. Still looking to see if this downtrend can break in order to add more in. Really nothing else from the kind of small coins that I'm interested in. This LRC is another one that I've been watching for a while. Looks like we might be breaking this lower trend line, but hey, if that holds and we break higher, great. But, kind of the theme on this is just that we're looking at, we're on a razor's edge for a lot of things in the crypto market. So if we go over here into trade ideas and we go into the equity market, let's start here with the SPY. Right, so this 270-ish level, right? It's not obviously going to be a level with these things. It's always some sort of, trying to look for zones, instead of levels I like to talk about. So anywhere kind of in this zone is where I'm going to be looking for support. This was an obvious down red awful day, but I want to draw your attention to this, which I'll leave in the description below, which is a blog post I did a while ago, basically talking about what happens when we usually close at the low of the day here and just showing there's about a 63% chance from 2009 to date, which is a little better than a coin flip, saying that it's potential that we are going to bounce from this level. So I'm going to watch that going forward. Let's go over here. One thing I did want to note is the RSP, which is an equal weight version of the SPY. So it's not really heavily weighted to Amazon, Facebook, all these things as the SPY. That seems to be holding better. The damage there was a little bit less. We're still kind of above or at these highs most recently. So nothing to really panic. One thing that stood out to me today is gold was down on the day. And if gold is going to be down when the whole market's down, and gold is often down when the whole market's up, I'm not too sure if it works at all as a hedge anymore. If there's any of you guys who are still kind of doing that, just FYZ. on that one. Just FYI, sorry on that one. Long day. Um, Now let's just go down the cap scale, right? So then we have the MDY. So the SPY is your big caps. The MDY is your mid caps, and mid caps here, we've had this range going on for a long time. We broke out of this range and then we came back into it. Then we broke out of it again. Now I want to see if this holds and we move higher, or if if we break back down into this range again. Because if we break back in the range again, then we've kind of actually now have a low and then a higher low. So this is kind of the main line in the sand, I think, that needs to be held if things turn bullish, which there's not a whole lot of evidence yet. Same kind of thing on the IWM. The IWM, this kind of 210 area, has been support for like a year and a half. This thing's been stuck in a range. We sell off and then we bounced a bit, and now it looks like if we're going to continue, we got to watch 210. If we bounce at 210 or a little bit before, then that may have just been a shakeout. If we break through 210 and keep going, then that might actually be a little bit of a short-term top that we have to go through it. Now for individual names, basically what I do, and I talk about this all the time, when the market is selling, I want to find names that are holding strong. So one name that I entered today that I still kind of like the look of is NUE. Basically, I was just looking right here. It had this big kind of ascending wedge pattern or pennant or whatever you'd like to call it, and it broke out of that today and it held. And this is a steel corporation, so I may look at some of the other steel corporations, right? X, STLD, things like this, and see which of these is actually holding strong, right? You don't want to go after the relative weakness in this. You don't want to look at the stuff that tanks. You want to go after the strong names. So here in Trade Ideas, I have this ETF watcher. And the beauty of this ETF watcher is I can take a look at the changes in certain periods of time. So if I look at the change in 5 days, this column right here is now ranking. You see I just did that by double clicking. All of the ETFs I watch as a change in how high it is in its 5-day range. So you can see that XLE is actually still doing really, really well. So energy as a whole is a place you may want to look. We can go into XLP, which is consumer staples, which is things that you need regardless of kind of what's happening in the market. So, for example, I know that General Mills is doing very well, and Kellogg's is also maybe potentially breaking out here, that kind of thing. We'll skip UUP because that's the dollar. So unless you're trading Forex, it's not really relevant to you. And then also XLB, which is your material sectors, right? So watch like John Deere, for example, in materials. So if the market's going to sell, then that's where you want to look, is what are they not selling. Now, what I'll say about just the overall market, because I'm sure you're going to see a lot of top calls if you're looking around the internet tonight, is just be very interesting about who is calling the top, and if you've seen them call the top a lot. Could this be the top? Certainly. But right, I remember I made a video somewhere in through this saying it probably wasn't the top and got a lot of flack, and then I made some here and said it probably wasn't the top and got a lot of flack, and same here. So the way I look at this is that as long as we're making higher highs and higher lows and higher highs and higher lows, right, higher highs, then we are in an uptrend. If we break this prior low and we technically make a lower high or a lower low, then it doesn't necessarily mean we're in a downtrend, but that's where I'm going to start to maybe be a little bit more cautious. And then if we bounce and then we start to make a lower high, that's where I'll be interested in saying, okay, we may have a short-term top in and it's time to get into cash, defensive, and potentially, buy some inverse ETFs or something. But really, one down day down, less than 2% is no need to panic, right? And remember, often it's 63% chance that when we're in uptrend and we close right below the day, that we're going to be higher over the next few days. So again, it means 63% chance means 4 times out of 10 you're still wrong. And that's just the nature of it. But just don't panic, right? Have a plan. For me, I'm watching on the SPY, again, this 470 area. If we stay above that, I think we're going to be okay. If we start to break and close below that, and we start to close below this 450 area, then I think, that's when we got to start worrying. But as long as we're holding above that, it's going to be fine. I really didn't initiate a lot of new positions today other than that NUE. But, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to later, right? So if we turn from this and we start pushing higher, then that was just a flush that probably suckered in some more bears and stopped out some people. If we start to make these continuously kind of lower lows, then that was just the start of a trend. So the moral of the story is pick your levels where you're going to start getting worried. Wait, watch, see what happens. The next move after a big move, I always find, is the most important. So, as always, none of this is investment advice, but you can come join me over at www.statsedgetrading.com, and I will see you there.